Hi everybody, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a few tips and tricks. These are little alterations and little tweaks that I've made to my makeup routine to improve it tenfold. I have been altering and tweaking my makeup routine for the last couple of years as my skin has been changing, and I've seen mass improvement, not only on how my skin and my makeup looks throughout the day, but also how it lasts and how it looks at the end of the day. So if you are interested in that, then please do stay tuned. Please also consider subscribing. I upload on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. London time, and I'm also on Instagram if you want to check me out over there. It's at Pampered Wolf, all lowercase, no spaces. Now, there may be some screams from downstairs. It's lunchtime here in the Pampered Wolf household, and my kids really wanted pancakes today for lunch. My husband, not a chef, not even remotely a tiny little bit of a cook. He's going to try his best to make them pancakes today. They are directly below me. If I can feel heat beneath me, I am running out the door. This may not end well, everybody. Anyway, I've completely gone off-piste. Let's get back to the video. So I just got my hair out of the way so that I can show you these tips and tricks at the same time as I'm talking you through them, because I just think that's a little bit easier. You may have heard me speak about these tips and tricks in some of my Get Ready With Me videos, but I just wanted to collate everything in one video just so that it was easily accessible for absolutely everybody. If you are new here, hi, my name's Gemma. I'm a qualified esthetician and lover of anything beauty, skincare and makeup. I am not a makeup artist, and I've had to learn the hard way, making lots and lots of mistakes. But hopefully, by passing this information on to you, you won't make the same mistakes as I did. I'm also obviously really different to all the other teenagers and people in their early 20s on YouTube, because I think it's really important that everybody knows not everybody can apply products in exactly the same way. As we age, our products need to be applied slightly differently in order to get the best out of them and to make sure that they look beautiful on our skin, because our skins are slightly different and they change all the time. So that brings me on to my first tip, which is stop trying to cover every single imperfection up on your skin. Go to the source. Instead of trying to cover it up with makeup, use skincare to make that issue less evident. And my mum is a huge example of this. Right from the very get-go, when she first appeared on my channel, my mum had quite a lot of pigmentation on her skin until I completely revamped her skincare routine. Now, she doesn't have to wear foundation if she doesn't want to. So instead of just going for the quick fix, have a look at your skincare routine, really strip everything back, and then just add little things into your routine that you actually need. Now, if you have pigmentation, then apply a product that will deal with that pigmentation. It's not a quick fix, it will take time. You may still have to cover up the pigmentation or whatever problem that you have with those concealers and those foundations in the interim. But believe me, if you get your skincare routine right, your skin will thank you, and you can ditch those really heavy concealers and foundations, and your skin will look so much better for it. But that leads me on to my tip 2, which is to prep the skin properly. And when I say prep the skin, I don't mean throw everything at it. You only need to be applying the things to your skin that you actually need. I see so many people's skincare routines on YouTube and they're using about 15 products first thing in the morning. And I just think, wow, that's a little excessive. It's very time consuming. It's just not needed. But it is really important to prep your skin. So do your normal skincare routine, add a little bit of moisturizer. It'll just make your skin glow a little bit, and it'll also make the application of your foundation far easier. So talking about foundation, that leads me perfectly into tip 3, which is pick the correct foundation shade for your exact skin tone. And that is undertone as well as shade of foundation. Now, the reason I say this is really important is because foundation doesn't stay perfect all day. It also depends on what we're doing throughout the day and how active we are. So if we're wearing the same foundation all the time, it will play differently on our skin on different days. And sometimes that foundation may lift off your skin. And if you've picked the right foundation shade, one that matches your skin, then if a patch does lift throughout the day, you won't notice because the patch that's lifted will be exactly the same shade as the skin that's underneath, so it won't look as bad. You always see those people who have tried to deepen their skin tone with foundation. At the end of the day, their foundation looks like foundation rather than their foundation looking like skin. And I think a lot of us are guilty of trying to pick foundation for the skin shade that we actually want rather than the skin shade that we actually have. And I have been guilty of this tenfold in the past. I really have. I've always wanted that beautiful tanned skin, so I've picked foundation accordingly, and it's just not gone well. So if you pick the foundation that matches your skin tone perfectly, you will have far less issues and your foundation will look perfect for much, much longer. Even if different patches lift or maybe you've got a little bit of creasing, it will still be the same shade as your natural skin tone, so it won't look as bad. So that leads us on to tip 4, which is foundation application. Now, I have seriously changed my foundation application over the last couple of years. I'm going to be using the NYX Born to Glow foundation today in the shade Light. So this one is as close a match to my skin tone as I can possibly find in this foundation. Now, I'm going to apply my foundation with a brush, but my 4th tip is to look at your skin like it's a blank piece of paper that has little dots on there of all the imperfections that you have on your face. And what I want you to do is cover those imperfections, but leave the rest of the skin completely blank, just concentrating on those imperfections only. So many people just put one full layer of foundation all over their skin, and it's just not necessary. And the more product you're putting on your skin, the worse it's going to look and the less time it's going to last for. So look at your skin like a blank piece of paper with all those imperfections on it and just concentrate on those imperfections to start off with. So I've got my brush. I'm going to apply the smallest amount. Don't apply the foundation in huge globs. Don't apply loads of foundation to your brush because you can't take the product away very easily. So just apply it in very small quantities. Not everybody needs a full face of foundation. So on my skin, on my cheek, I have some imperfections and a little bit of redness and a bit of scarring. On my chin, I have redness on the tip. I also have scarring here and also here. Have the same on this side. Very little to the sides of my forehead. It's more in the middle where I have a bit of discoloration. So I'm going to concentrate on those areas. So first of all, I'm going to add a tiny dab. There's hardly any left on my brush whatsoever. And I'm just going to work that into the skin and just cancel out. I've also got a little bit of redness around my nose, so I'm just going to concentrate around there. I've got some redness on the tip of my nose. See how far this tiny bit of foundation is going? I'm just going to keep on blending that out like that. Add a tiny bit more to the tip of my brush, and I'm going to go over my chin. Very, very little foundation. That way the foundation will actually sink into your skin. It won't just sit on the surface of your skin. Now, obviously, everybody's needs are going to be different. Everybody's skin is going to be different, and some skins will have much more discoloration and more pigmentation issues and more imperfections than mine. So you may have to do a little bit of a dot to dot, but it is possible. So already my skin is looking far better than it did before, and I don't have any foundation here. I also don't have any foundation here. I'm going to apply a little bit on my eyelids just to cancel out any pigmentation issues that I have on the eyelids. And I use the same process for the concealer underneath the eye. So very, very little concealer. Concentrate on the areas of pigmentation first before you start blending that out. So now I've got more of an even canvas. I've just concentrated on my imperfections and then just going to add the tiniest little bit more foundation, and I'm now going to use a blending sponge. So I'm going to tap a little bit of product on there, and I'm just going to go over the areas that need a little bit more coverage, but then blend that out over the rest of the skin so that we're completely even. So once you've got the coverage that you require, and obviously this is going to be different for everybody because it's personal preference, the same principles apply though. Concentrate on those areas of imperfections and then even everything out over the top using your blending sponge. I'm going to go to tip 5, and that is again using a blending sponge, and it's concentrating on those problematic areas. By problematic areas, I mean those areas that cause you problems throughout the day in regards to your foundation. So foundation may collect in any fine lines or wrinkles that you have, any sort of cakiness that you may have around the nose area. I'm going to be concentrating on that area for this tip. So I take the other end of my blending sponge and I'm just going to go in the hollows of my nose around my nostrils and take out, remove any excess product. This is going to stop this from going cakey throughout the day. I'm also going to do the same around my smile lines where foundation does tend to collect throughout the day, or maybe it cracks throughout the day. Just remove as much as possible. So the less product that you have in that area, the less problems it's going to cause you throughout the day. So do that around your fine lines and wrinkles, any problematic areas, anywhere that it goes cakey throughout the day. If you go a little bit cakey between your brows, just try and remove as much excess product between your brows as well, and you'll find that your makeup stays truer and more beautiful longer throughout the day. Tip 6 is don't apply powder excessively to set your foundation. Now, I see so many people on YouTube baking the under eye area, baking the cheeks, baking all sorts of different places where they go oily throughout the day, and that can work for some. It works for very few over 40 skins. It can make the skin look very unnatural. It can go cakey throughout the day. Over 40 skin, on some, not all, is different to a 20-year-old skin. So some people over the age of 40 can get away with baking and it works really well for them. I am not one of those people. So my 6th tip is don't use powder excessively. I tend to use a powder brush. My favorite powder is the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Powder, and I dip my powder brush in the top of the product and I dust off every single last bit of excess. And the product that's on that brush will now do my entire face. I don't then dip back into the product. That is it. If you can get away without using powder at all, I would definitely do that. But I'm just gonna powder those slightly oilier areas. I don't powder anywhere else. It's not necessary. Just like it's not necessary to apply excessive amounts of foundation absolutely everywhere on your skin, you should just concentrate on the areas that actually need it. Tip 7 is brows. Now, for me, brows are extremely important. They frame the face. My mum never used to do anything with her brows, and now she's started doing things with her brows, just filling them in slightly. It doesn't have to be overdone, doesn't have to make your brows look really dark, just reintroducing that shape to the brow. And it can really frame the face, and it can also knock years off you. But my main tip is to use your spoolie. And if you don't have a spoolie attached to the end of your product, and this is the Microbrow pencil from NYX, which is my ride or die, I highly recommend you go and get one. So brushing through the brows at first is really important, but not necessary for everybody. It's once the product is in the brows, you can transform your brows from looking quite boxy and unnatural with your spoolie. This really does blend everything in, and I'll show you in just a sec. Okay, so I've filled in my brows. They look seriously unnatural. They look really boxy. This is how I do my brows on a daily basis though, and I don't go out looking like this, and it's all because of the spoolie. So just by rubbing through the brows with a spoolie, everything's softened off, everything is blended out, it looks far, far more natural. Honestly, a spoolie can completely revolutionize your brow routine and just make everything look so, so much nicer. Not a boxy brow in sight, just so much better. Also, if you make a mistake, you can clean it up. So if you go a little bit higher than you wanted to, you just take your spoolie, drag it across, and the mistake is completely fixed. Just a great way of doing your brows. So if you aren't using your spoolie at the minute, try and have a go with it. You will honestly not regret it. Everything looks far more natural than on this side, which just looks a little bit drawn on. Okay, so I've just gone off camera and applied my bronzer and a little bit of mascara. It's about 100 degrees in this room. I am melting. So I just wanted to get off camera for a little bit and cool off. And also I don't have tips for those specific products within this video. So let's move on to blush. Tip 8 is to stop applying your blush whilst you're smiling. Because if you apply your blush whilst you're smiling, just to find the apple of your cheek, when you stop smiling, your blush is all the way down here, which can give a bit of a drooping effect to the face. It can really drag it down and stop it from looking really lifted and youthful. So you can still apply it to the apples of your cheeks if that's the way you want to apply your blush. Just don't apply it whilst you're smiling. I actually prefer to apply my brush on the high points of my cheek because it just adds to that lifted effect, and even around on to my temples as well, just gives that extra lifted appearance. I do like the look of blush on my apple of the cheek, so I will drag it down there a little bit, but I stay very, very high up with a neutral expression on my face while I'm doing it, definitely not smiling. Okay, moving on to tip 9. Tip 9 is all about the lips. Now, as we get older, we lose a little bit of body from the lips, so our lips are a little bit smaller and sunken, and we also lose some pigmentation. Now, a lot of people are afraid of using a really dark color because that makes the lips look smaller, and that is true in some instances, but obviously it depends on the shade of your skin. A lot of people like to wear something that is really pale in colour because that's supposed to make your lips look bigger. And again, that's true for some people, but it depends on how pale you want to go. You don't really want to go paler than the natural shade that your lip used to be. It's really, really useful to go for something as natural as possible to give you that youthful appearance. Going really, really pale can have the opposite effect that you're after. So if you're really pale like me and you're going very close to your actual skin tone, you can make the lips look completely invisible. So not only do you not notice them, you don't see them at all. So it's really important for me to go for something quite natural. I'm going for the shade that is Dolly from Charlotte Tilbury. I just think this shade is absolutely beautiful, and it's as close to my natural shade as possible. And what I mean by natural shade is the shade that I was when I was a little bit younger. So when my lips were a little bit more flushed and had a bit more pigmentation. So I also like to overline, especially my top lip, just to make it seem a little bit fuller. So to add to that volumizing look, I'm just going to add a little bit of gloss to the center of my lips, making that seem a little bit more exaggerated and plump. I'm going to use the Revolution Pout Bomb in the shade Kiss. So let's finish off this video before I end up like the Wicked Witch of the West and just a pool of Gemma all over the floor. It is so hot in here. Anyway, my tip 10 is to carry a blending sponge around with you in your handbag everywhere you go, because these are not only invaluable for makeup application, these are also absolutely amazing at makeup touch-ups. These will absorb any excess oils that you have on your face throughout the day, and also then smooth out any makeup that you have around those cakey areas, or if your makeup has settled into any of those fine lines, which they shouldn't if you followed all the other tips, but if they do, then these are absolutely fantastic at just smoothing out those areas and making them absolutely perfectly blended all over again. So you carry one of these around with you, you cannot lose. Just a little bit of a dab with hardly any pressure whatsoever will just make your makeup look absolutely fantastic all over again. So they are my tips and tricks. That is how I have tweaked little things here and there to improve my makeup application and my overall makeup look. I really hope you found this video helpful. Do let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. Let's get some conversation going, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.